Hello, I'm Doug, and this is a Taste and Sensibility channel. And today we are here at episode number 5 of Stinky Cheeses. And what stinky cheese are we looking at today? Well, this orange-rinded thing from Jasper Hill Farm called Organic Von Trapp Oma, which is mentioned in Liz Thorpe's wonderful book, The Book of Cheese. She has a chapter called the Tallegio Gateway, represented by this thing down here with the words on it. But I'm calling it stinky cheeses because people might relate to that more rather than washed-rind cheeses, which is the technical name of the category. But Oma is in this chapter, and I'm about to get to it. From Von Trapp Farmstead, the Cellars at Jasper Hill. It says it's a cow milk cheese in Vermont's Mad River Valley. Because I think this is where the Von Trapps settled when they moved out of Germany from that famous movie, The Sound of Music. So this is a washed-rind cheese which causes a bacterium to grow on the outer surface, which gives it this orange color and a stinky, foul, body odor-like aroma. Now, why would people put that on something they intend to eat? I still haven't figured it out, but the cheeses turn out to be pretty good, and the aroma is always way stronger than the cheese flavors are, so the nosing experience is very different than the tasting experience. So don't let that fear guide your choices here. So, wow, okay, I was able to get into this. But washing with a brine, with or without a bacterial culture, promotes this one stinky bacteria. So I bought this sample here at Whole Foods. And it is about, I tore up the part I needed to read, 0.29 pounds. At $28.50 a pound or so. So this little chunk is $8.26, and I am smelling it now. It is definitely to the funky side, and food would not be the first thing you would think of when you smell this. But I have released the cheese from the wrapper, and I'm going to use, I don't know why, I'm going to be touching this stuff. So the orange color of the rind is a signal to be careful when you open it, to be careful when you eat it, to be careful when you give it to other people. So this cheese has a nice yellow color inside with a few holes, and the outer surface is mostly orange with a few specks. Might be some other kind of mold or something that's starting to grow a little bit on the outer edge of the wheel. You could tell this was cut from a wheel. But before we get into this stinky mess, let me get you to like this video, leave comments and questions down below, share it with friends, subscribe to the channel, and click on that bell to get notified when the new videos come out. So I am tracking pretty carefully the Tallegio Gateway of Liz Thorpe's book, and I'm just going to call it Stinky Cheeses, and hope to have 10 or 15 episodes. But they're not really popular. Cheese departments and grocery stores don't have a bunch, and Whole Foods has quite a number, and that's where my first round has come from. And then I'll be going to a cheese shop in downtown New Orleans that'll have a different kind of selection. So I will get more there shortly. So this cheese has been out of the fridge for a couple of hours, so it will be room temperature, no chill, and full of aromas and flavors as the cheesemaker intended. So I'm going to cut a small piece with the top and the bottom rind from the wheel and give it a smell. And I smell it already, and it was a little to the funky side. It's not overpowering. It's not making me sick or turn my stomach. but it's an aroma you wouldn't want to be around all day long, or you wouldn't want any stronger. So yeah, it's a pretty strong aroma, but I'm going to put the whole thing in my mouth and get an idea of what the flavors are. So the inside's very creamy, a little bit salty, very fat forward. Butter is not far-fetched as a texture or a flavor, but there's a little bit more to it. And the caps, the rinds of the little piece I had a little more age or funkiness or something going on there. Was it wood? Was it rotting something under a bunch of leaves? It's not necessarily food related, but you get the idea of old decay. And it's a complex set of savory flavors. Okay. Nothing wrong with it. It's fairly approachable for this family of cheeses. So I like it so far. There's an extra something, a little caramel, a vanilla thing, something a little desserty. It's not sweet. It's not sweet as a cheese, and it's not a sweet flavor, but it's a caramel that accompanies sweet things. It's a spice that's often in dessert things, like the nutmeg on a custard or something like that. There's a baking spice edge or note to it. Okay, let me get this on a cracker and see how it gets along. There, so you can see a few holes in it. So it is, you can tell it's formed from some curds, because the holes don't always all close up. So let's dive in. And the cracker, it's really nice, creamy, lush, rich, tiny bit buttery, a fatty mouthfeel. Not really that much of a sweetness to it. The dairy notes are faint, but they're along the lines of butter. And then the rind is having an effect, even though it's just tiny little bits at each end. The flavor is affected by that organism, and I think it's growing in towards the center. So, well, I like it. It's very mild. It's a mild end of the spectrum of this Stinky family. Okay, yes, excellent. Nothing objectionable about it. A nice creamy cheese with a little something extra that's hard to place. I don't think most cheese eaters would mind it at all. Now on this multi-grain cracker, with some seeds and things, it's got a little nutty character, and that is bringing out different things in the cheese. It's still creamy, still faintly dairy, emphasizing butter or cream notes, and something extra, the funkiness of age or decay or rotting something or baking spices. Not everyday things for most people. Okay, small piece on a whole grain cracker here. Oh, this is good. Cracker's a little salty and very grainy, weedy. And the cheese goes along well with that. So I'm putting a whole piece on this water cracker with the rind ends. So let's see how it is on a more neutral cracker with a little less salt. The cheese seems a little saltier by comparison, but it's still that pleasant, mostly neutral, fatty mouthfeel cheese I've been describing. Okay, more. So there's a little hint, a wisp, a vapor of a funkiness on every bite that I eat of this. I'm going to try on a flatbread as my last cracker. They always break the wrong way. And I'll put a good sized piece on this half a flatbread piece with both ends of the rind. So let's try this gamish. And the cheese is way stronger in flavors than the flatbread. Way stronger in salt, so you can tell it's the saltier partner. And the funkiness is really low level, held back. It's in the background. So it gets along with all the crackers, and it's a low level stinkiness for sure. Now I'm going to take a few pieces of the cheese for some of these pairings, and I'll cut more if I have to. But first I was going to do a bit of a pear. This is an almost perfectly ripe pear. It's not very juicy, but it is sweet and approaching perfect ripeness. And I'm gonna just put a piece of pear and a piece of cheese together. So it's not a clash of flavors or textures, but the pear was softer and disintegrated in my mouth faster than the cheese did, which took a little chewing and really smashing it down, because it's a nice, fairly firm cheese. So they didn't go away at the same rate, which kind of interfere with the pairing aspects of it. So it wasn't a clash, it wasn't a great pairing either. They did not complement each other in some wonderful new way that made a new flavor. So I'd say you probably don't need to bother with the pear. Other fruits may work out just fine. I'm going to take a cashew and put it on a piece with just a little bit of rind. So cashew and Oma. That's working out really well. Their flavors are very complementary. There's a sweet nuttiness, a saltiness from the cashew, and kind of a nice fatty mouthfeel, and a almost sweet, full-bodied nature of the cheese. It just went along together so well. So I'm going to take a fairly rindy part of the cheese from a curve or an elbow and put it with a jalapeno slice. So one of these is going to win, and we'll see which one. Very interesting. Good combination. The green pepper notes of the jalapeno and the fatty, creamy nature of the cheese went along together as a good contrast, and I'd never really gotten any heat. I think the fat from the cheese was protecting my taste buds, or the sensors or receptors that get the capsaicin from the pepper, and I didn't really register as a spicy pepper, because I've eaten these plain. Touch my face, I slice something with a knife. I sliced bread with a knife that sliced these, and it became spicy. So these are not mild chilies, and they were very muted because of the fat of the cheese. So that was interesting. And I will take, for my another pairing trick, a couple of pieces of dried cherry. So I think they're sour cherries, a little sweetened, and a couple pieces on a rind-heavy part of the Oma. Good pairing. Wow, okay. So the cherry just has this deep, dark, fruity flavor that is almost savory and almost brought out some kind of meaty notes in the cheese. So the sweetness is good, the tartness is good of the cherries, and then it was a different kind of texture than the cheese was. So the cheese was smooth and creamy, but firm, so that you got to break it up with teeth, tongue, mouth parts. And it just, wow, it broke down very well, very pleasant. So I think I'm going to need another slice here to finish off any pairings and say goodbye. But ooh, yes, definitely want to try a good sized chunk with some bacon bits, which are over here. And I don't know why I try this anymore. It always works. It's not like an experiment. Just how well does the cheese go with the bacon here? So probably more bacon than I need for flavor, but that's what people do. Two or three pieces would have been plenty of the bacon, and it's a really good combination. Lots of savory aspects in the bacon. It brings out savory notes in the cheese, actually. So it's an interesting combination of smokiness of the bacon, savoriness of the bacon, saltiness, interacting with the dairy notes, buttery mouthfeel. And it was interesting. I got more of the funkiness of the cheese, but not in a funky way. It was just accentuated some notes that weren't as loud before that I really enjoyed. And then the last thing on the tasting pairing plate are just sun-made raisins, so I'll go ahead and do that. These things are mostly working out well. So these are just regular old dark sun-made raisins. And as long as they stick to the cheese, I will be able to get them in my mouth. So it was nice and fruity, wasn't quite as strong of a flavor as the cherries. Or the bacon for sure. I'd say even the cashews were stronger. And the sweetness of the raisins was there. And that was about the only thing I picked up. It was a little bit fruity and a lot sweet. So not as good as some of the other dried fruit pairings might be. So I think I can pop in on Oma and give Liz's tasting notes. It says aroma is earthy, and I did get some earthy notes on the aroma, but I also got that on the flavor. The texture says tender and plush, flavor approachable barnyard. Yes, I agree. That's along the right lines. And supremely balanced. Yes, I would say that's a good description. The funky notes are not strong, they're not intense, they're in the background. Okay, relatively stocky wheel. Oma has a quilted orange rind overlaid with white flora that mellows the barnyard and delivers a complex, savory, and eminently balanced mouthful of cheese, with textures ranging from springy to puddingy, but never runny. Oma is peppered with irregular openings, its flavor buttery and sweet, occasionally garlicky. So, yeah, many of those notes she gives are things I picked up, so I am pretty happy with this cheese and my perception of it. So this is one of the last really mild things. Okay, not one of the last, but we're stepping through a series of washed-rind cheeses that are going to get stronger fast. So Epoise and Limburger might be the next ones. And those have much stronger aromas, so you're going to see me less comfortable in the videos to come, next couple. So come back for those, and cheers.